So today we're looking at a day that honestly tested the absolute limits of an entire sports city's patience. We're calling it the Boston roller coaster. We're going to explore exactly how fast the weather and really a franchise's entire trajectory can just flip.
What happens when everything seems to go wrong at once? Just let that hang in the air for a second. If you were following Boston sports on May 4th, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You felt it. It was this moment of sheer, almost suffocating anxiety. The kind of day where every single time you refreshed your feed, the news somehow just kept getting worse.
Okay, let's dive into this dark day. Over on the hardwood, the city was already reeling from the Celtics' devastating and, quite frankly, historic playoff collapse. Seeing Jason Tatum register a DNP in a do-or-die Game 7, that cast a massive, heavy shadow over the whole city. It immediately sparked some incredibly uncomfortable questions about what that team is even going to look like next season. And it wasn't just basketball. Across other sports, folks were desperately looking backwards for some kind of comfort. You had Patriots Hall of Famer Rob Gronkowski coming out and saying, "I needed Belichick's tight-knit style to become a great player." Hearing those words, it just reminded fans of that stability, that dependable, tight-knit culture that suddenly felt completely MIA across the entire Boston sports scene. Everyone was just looking for an anchor. Well, that dark cloud quite literally followed the Red Sox all the way to Detroit. Picture this. It's May 4th, 2026, at Comerica Park. Facing actual literal incoming storms, Boston quickly found themselves staring down a super tense 2-0 deficit against the Tigers. And then the anxiety really peaked. Right in the very first inning, lineup centerpiece Roman Anthony took this terribly awkward swing. He was immediately put on a plane back to Boston for wrist tests. His quote, "I don't know much about the hand. I'll leave that up to the hand specialist." Man, an early season injury to a star player is exactly the kind of nightmare scenario a struggling franchise dreads. The pressure was literally compounding by the minute. Just think about this timeline. First inning, your star goes down injured. Fast forward to the 7th, you're losing 2-0. And at that exact moment, the actual storm clouds open up. Fans are physically scurrying for shelter. I mean, it really felt like the season was just washing away right in front of them. But then, something remarkable happens. Just as interim manager Chad Tracy was crossing his fingers, just hoping and praying for the best possible news about his injured star, the clouds, both literal and figurative, parted over the stadium. The rain stopped. The energy in the ballpark completely shifted. And suddenly, this tiny glimmer of real optimism began to shine through. This whole pivot starts right on the mound with rookie Payton Tolle. Tolle stepped up and delivered an absolutely masterful performance. We're talking one single hit allowed over 7 entire innings. Right in the middle of all this chaos, a rookie steps up and claims his first major league win with total dominance. Incredible. And the sheer, unadulterated joy that followed, it was electric. Tolle was greeted in the locker room with the traditional, chaotic beer shower, and he joked with reporters, "Not sure what was in that concoction. I'm kind of proud of it right now." That right there, that was exactly the silver lining this clubhouse desperately needed to just lift the collective mood.
But hey, pitching only keeps you in the game, right? You still gotta score. And the true turning point, the spark that ignited this rare, explosive 5-run inning for Boston, came from one guy. Enter Jarren.
Let's break down the mechanics of this turnaround for a second. After suffering through one of the most terrible Aprils of his career, Jarren completely flipped the script. Since moving back to the leadoff spot on May 1st, get this, he is hitting the ball in the air an unbelievable 72% of the time. He found his swing, and honestly, more importantly, he found his swagger. All of those mechanical adjustments culminated in this one singular explosive moment. A massive 381-foot, 3-run homer. And he took it to the opposite field, no less, which, by the way, was the team's first oppo homer since April 1st. This wasn't just a hit. It was a massive statement that completely flipped a narrative that was trending toward yet another punchless loss. Seriously, you have to look at these numbers since that May 1st change because they are absolutely staggering. 7 hits in just 18 at-bats, 3 home runs, and an insane 1.310 OPS. Down 2-0, 2 runners on, there was quite literally no one else interim manager Chad Tracy wanted walking up to that plate. Jarren was just electric. Tracy actually put it perfectly after the game. He said, "We had more missed opportunities early and kind of said, hey, keep getting them on there. Somebody's going to pop one."
They trusted their process, and Durant delivered that big, authoritative swing they so desperately needed to lock down a 5-4 win. So, what's the big takeaway here? It's this stark comparison right in front of us. Since 2024, when Jarren Duran gets 2 or more hits, the Red Sox win at a really solid 57-37 clip. Not bad, right? But when he hits a home run, they are practically unbeatable, dominating with a 28-13 record. Make no mistake, he is the undisputed engine of this offense. When Duran goes, Boston goes. Which leaves us with this final, kind of provocative thought. In a Boston sports landscape that's currently filled with sudden playoff collapses and scary early season injuries, how much momentum can one single player's swing truly generate for an entire franchise? Can Jarren Duran carry the weight of a fragile season all on his shoulders? It's an incredibly heavy burden, but as we saw in Detroit, sometimes all it takes is one spark to chase those storm clouds away. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.